Sorry, my bad. Take a right, go down 2 blocks. I didn't know. Hi, thank you for tuning in to That's the Setup podcast. I'm your host, Sharika Duncan, a new author of the Setup novel. Check me out on Instagram at Sharika Duncan and on Facebook as Sharika Duncan Author or my website, sharikaduncan.com.
Good evening, everyone. Happy holiday. Happy New Year. Roland, it's 2020, girl.
New year, new me.
Yes. Welcome to the new.
For this week, we'll see what next week look like.
Oh, gosh. Happy New Year to you.
And same to you. I hope you had a great holiday.
Yes, likewise. I am definitely pumped and ready to engage with our listening, our partners in the Setup podcast family. We're just so excited to just get back on and just dialogue with everyone. Yes, happy holidays. How was your holiday in particular, Roland?
It was relaxing. I could have used a few more weeks off from work and off from all these other activities that I feel like it's time consuming.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, I enjoyed it. You know, it was good. You know, around this time, it's like you want to enjoy it 100%, but it's like it's so gloomy and cold and so dreary around this time of year. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, we have some funny weather. They keep playing with our weather, girl.
Yeah, especially here in Atlanta, girl. Every day it's something different.
Mhm. So in terms of like just trying to keep up with, you know, the news and just social media trending topics, I have been so flabbergasted by the alert of our young women being captured and just like literally thrown into sex trafficking rings nowadays. It's really right in our neck of the woods.
Girl, it is everywhere. It is like the hottest topic right now. It's on social media heavily. It's on the radio, you know, an urban radio. They talk about it often. It's at the beauty parlor. It's at the barber shop. People talking about it, you know, for something that's been happening for centuries now. It ain't nothing new, but, you know. And, girl, did you see that R. Kelly Part 2 last night?
What? Yes, I did. It was mind-blowing.
I ain't seen it yet. I just heard people talking about it during the lunch break today.
Yes, and that's when things, it was surreal. It really was, and very disturbing. And I just think that, if you don't mind, that we, you know, I know it's a new year, new you movement type of deal with everyone, with resolution and things like that, but I want us to try to kick off our 2020 topic for this evening in regards to this sex trafficking problem.
Let's talk about that. You know, it's unfortunate that it's happening, especially that it's happening to these young women, mostly women of color, but it affects, you know, white women, Asian women, Hispanic women, you know. The way they exploit these young women, you know, it's at some point it's like, you know, you want to sit down and think about it. Well, how did it all begin? You know, who's to blame? Is it the parents' fault? Is it the child or the young woman? Is it the boyfriend, girlfriend? Is it friends? Is it drugs? What could it be? You know, to force a 14-year-old or 13-year-old to have sex daily with multiple men for money, it's ridiculous. You taking them out of their environment and you're putting them out on these streets and you're drugging them up, and they really think, these people, some of them at first, they think it's the lifestyle. This is cool. I get to sleep with a few people, but I get to go shopping. But after a while, you realize you really got yourself in a really bad situation.
Yeah, I agree. And it's a global epidemic. I mean, in terms of this is widespread. Sex trafficking could be the new normal of slavery, human slavery.
Yes, you can look at it that way, for sure. Because if you don't, you're out there working all these long hours under these conditions that are sometimes inhumane, and it could become dangerous depending on how your owner, quote unquote, feels like treating you that day, that moment. Some of these people who get involved in sex trafficking, they suffer a lot. They don't, it's not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually, they get abused. They get beat up, they get berated. It's humiliating.
Now, when you mention these things, like you're describing a condition of being caught up in it, I want to scale back to just for our listening audience and myself to make sure I'm on point with what you're describing. What exactly is sex trafficking? Because there's so many versions. People use that term out of context sometimes, and then that's when it gets confusing to others, and it's not taken serious based on that term being, out there randomly. And I love the fact that I said slavery because that's how I see it in my mind. I can picture it, and you agree too, correct?
I'm with you.
And maybe it's sex exploitation, particularly with women and young girls. I'm sure there may be an issue with the male population also, but in terms of, that Me Too movement of women in particular, it seems as if, we're still fighting for our identity in the world. So women may have a majority, of an issue compared to the male population in this epidemic.
It's a very nasty thing. But statistics shows that there's more than 4 million victims of sex trafficking globally. That is a lot of people. And some of them are very young. Some of them are children under the age of 10. Okay, and they're forced to be sexually exploited by, of course, pedophiles, for sure, most of the time. And that's disgusting. Mm-hmm. That is so disgusting.
And, I agree with you. It's horrible. But when we talk about legality behind, young children being exploited in that manner sexually, isn't it some countries that actually allow underage children to be married to an adult?
Yes, and I think that's very disgusting. Again, I feel like that's feeding you're serving a pedophile dinner on a silver platter, is how I see it. It makes no sense at all for you to think that this 20-some-year-old man earned the right to marry your 10-year-old daughter. Marry. You know what married couples do? I'm not married, but it's hard to even date and have a regular boyfriend and be regular boyfriend and girlfriend, let alone being married to someone. You're responsible for the cooking, cleaning. He basically owns you. You can't do nothing at 10. You can't work. You can't buy no alcohol. Depending on what country you're in. But, things like that, and I know it's their culture, but that culture dates back to the beginning of time, like I said, like sex trafficking and prostitution and pedophilia. All that has been around since the beginning of time. And I think it's just a sick way to carry a tradition that deep down, it's 2019. And if you're still being 2020. Oh, girl, we're in 2020. I'm so behind. Pray for me, girl. Pray for me. But we are in 2020.
Hold on. I am right there. I feel your passion when you describe this. But listen, my point is, how can we sit back and justify it being unethically, right to have sexual, I should say, interactions with underage girls in our country or globally, when there are some countries who legally allow, say, for instance, you have countries such as Mali, Ghana, Central African Republic areas where like 60% of kids are in child marriages.
Girl, we got this stuff here in the United States of America, right around the corner, where some lady who probably strung out on meth, pimping out her 5-year-old daughter to these grown men. That is disgusting.
Now, see, you just hit home, because allegedly in some of that documentary footage, there were a lot of parents who were attempting to sue, the artist known as R. Kelly in regards to their children, when therefore there were some type of non-disclosure agreements of money being, given out to these same parents. Now the money has dropped. Now they want to sue, allegedly.
Well, I think, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong, so do not quote me to the T. But some of these parents that want to sue, they should be sued. Now, I'm just saying.
Yes.
I'm just saying. Because I know some of y'all, some of them out there trying to chase clout, and they'll do whatever. They expose their children to situations and environments that young children shouldn't have no business being in. But you as an adult, you're trying to use your child to get by, to get put on, or whatever it is.
Yes, it's driven by poverty-stricken conditions. Sometimes people are just, they want the fame, they want the materialistic things, and they don't care who they sacrifice for it. Even their own child.
I don't know. But I know that, it's happening in homes. It's happening in schools. Your daughter goes to school one day. She gets mixed up with the wrong crowd. Boom, next thing you know, she don't come home. It happens in, especially in foster care. You know how many of these young women that filter through the foster care system, they land in different people's homes and they get molested and put in a new home and they get molested. So by the time they're 8, 9 years old, if they've already been in the system for 4, 5 years, they think it's normal, which is sad.
Yes, and let's talk about safe houses and even scaling back to in your home blood relatives who may have been violated and they have passed it on in the family. They think that it is normal to touch on each other and it becomes an issue. And that's how some people identify with other genders, same gender relations, based on experiencing it as a child. So it becomes the norm.
Mm-hmm.
Or even in the crime, system, in terms of the prison system or any type of jail-related entities.
I don't know, girl. I'm just over it. And, I don't take it lightly when I'm hanging around or I just don't happen to be somewhere and I hear a grown man, talk explicitly about a young woman that walks by who's clearly underage,
Wow.
Yeah. It makes me look at you like, okay, maybe we should keep an eye on you. And I'm sure, you know, those who know you know that you've been like this for quite some time, but they let you pass like it's okay. No one, like, somebody need to check him or her, you know? Because the older women, I'm not sure if it's something in the water, you know, like the school teachers, you know, this is not sex trafficking, but it's still sexual exploitations of younger men and women, you know, children, you know, who can't fend for themselves, you know. You're a teacher. You're a whole 30-something-year-old, and you having a baby by 11, 12-year-old. What is that?
That is unrealistic. And those people don't deserve, that's dehumanizing. Yes. I mean, they're not fit to be in society. That is a mental health issue that has to be reversed.
Yes, but then, you know, there's a lot of money to be made in this, which is, again, it's like what people would do for money. I mean, this sex trafficking business is like a multi-million-dollar industry. And don't let it be like a big event happening. Like, you know, in Atlanta, when the Super Bowl came here, that sex trafficking thing was all over. Like, it increased for the day or for that weekend.
Right. And the thing is are we able to see the signs? Well, they have triggered it all around, like you said, big events, big distractions, right under our noses. And unfortunately, they make examples out of some, but there are so many others who are doing things allegedly, as R. Kelly is accused for, that have not been exposed, you know. So it doesn't surprise me one bit. It's just that I hope that this conversation that we're sharing could shed light to the awareness of it not being any type of, like, you know, fairy tale or something that shouldn't be taken. It can't be taken lightly because it's right here. It's happening right where I am. I'm sure you see a lot of news articles, and people are disappearing now.
It's just crazy. And then it's like, what is the law doing about this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because sometimes the law is a part of the issue. You know,
they don't care, especially when it's happening to minorities. They don't care. You know, they're not quick to arrest. They're not quick to investigate. You know, they take their time. You know, I read somewhere online that the prosecution rate for sex trafficking in the U.S. actually went down compared to this was done in 2019, but compared to 2017, it went down from 282 to like barely 200. Why is that? And then when the victims, when things become too much for them and they trying to escape and they can't, and they end up killing their pimp, or they end up killing the man that's laying up on them or something, they get prosecuted and they get sent to prison. Like that whole Antonia Brown. And there's like another article somewhere about this young girl who killed the man who had kidnapped her and forced her into this sex trafficking. So you want to arrest these perverts, but you don't arrest these women for saying enough is enough, despite their past. Despite, you know, who they are, you know, you might not like their character and all this stuff, but you have to understand they were underage at the time where they were used and exploited. So and enough is enough.
Enough is enough, and every life, every human being is valuable. No other race should be equated more than the other race. So the issue is the alert. Like if it was someone of an opposite race, then the attention may be more expanded, and there will be more outcomes. Mm-hmm. Yet, if it is in a certain, classification, then it really doesn't scratch the surface because it's minute.
I just don't know. I'm so over it, and it's just.
We have to
how about those
who
see it happening, but then they don't want to say nothing?
Because
you can't tell me you don't see this 13-year-old girl running around with this grown man every day in the car, getting dropped off, getting picked up, getting dropped off, getting picked up.
It's none of their business.
Tell me you don't see that.
We turn our head and act like we don't see it. If it's not my business, it's not me. It's not for me to tell it.
That's ridiculous.
That mentality. And if sometimes people buy people out to be quiet, to turn their head. And it's unfortunate, but all we can do is protect ourselves, especially when we just got to be more aware of our surroundings and the signs. How does a sex trafficker, appear? What are the signs to look for?
I mean, nowadays you got to be careful with online because that's where they fish and they hook you online. You never know who you're talking to behind the computer screen. It could be a 40-some-year-old man acting like he's a teenager. You're young. You stuck in your room because your parents won't let you out. This man found you online and made you feel like you're the most important person in the world. So you got to be vigilant as to whom your children are communicating with online. I hate to say this, but sometimes you just got to not be a friend and be a parent and have to go through their phones to see who they've been talking to. You got to know your children's friends. If your child is all of a sudden talk about somebody you ain't never heard of before, be your parent, be like, well, who is that?
Yeah.
Again, you try to encourage young men and women to always be in groups when they're walking, especially at night, and even during the day, because, nowadays with what they call the white van, ride around all day long, snatching folks off, So, remain in a group because it's for real. Like, don't assume that it can't happen to you. It happens to others. Well, what would make you immune if you're doing the same mistakes they probably did? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You got to be aware of who your friends are because you're trying to fit in so bad. Next thing you know, you out here tricking. You know where it got started. You just got to know who you are. You got to be strong in who you are. Not everybody who pays you attention, don't take it and run with it because you'll know they may have ulterior motives behind all that attention they're paying you. You don't know them, Especially young, women, if y'all go to the club, somebody, trying to buy y'all a drink, is it really that serious? You want to use somebody for a $5 drink that could possibly kill you or take you out of your element, and you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's okay to decline. It's okay.
Right. Our life is invaluable.
Huh?
Definitely.
And it's just weird, like the way it's like, and to me it all ties in with rape too. Like you raping these women and these little young boys. You know what I mean? You're taking control of their body and you're doing things to them that harms them. It happens at college too. These date rape drugs, it's for real.
Well, let's identify women or victims who I understand that it is a reality, unfortunately. But how do we identify it? Like, if we see a victim, what does a victim look like? How do they behave? In terms of their demeanor or their body language and interaction.
Well, I have a real life story that I could probably fit into this. So my sister told me last week how she believes that she just saved a young woman's life. Meaning that her baby daddy works at a gas station at night, right? And so while he was working, a young woman came in and she purchased some beer or whatnot, and then she left, but she was in the car. she was like a white woman, and she was in a car with a black man. They left. About 30 minutes later,